part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the ultrasphere. Introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves.
It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Just go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRESSPLAY. High tech for low places. Manscaped.
Hey, another episode coming your way. You can't miss us if we just won't go away.
No, you can just dream that we will.
And absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I don't think that's true, actually.
Well, if you hate the person, so like when you're gone for a while, let's just say that we can pick up right where we left off. This is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
And as always, we are brought to you by the Press Play Podcast Network.
Ooh, you said the whole thing this time.
I did. I didn't want to give you the satisfaction.
Oh, I'm not sure how satisfying it is for me to just chime in with.
Touch me.
Network.
Dun, 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 dun.
Please stop.
So I can get my satisfaction.
I don't,
you know that one?
I don't like this game at all.
Well, sometimes you're just inspired in the moment.
Okay.
Could be me. It could be the 300 milligrams of quote-unquote natural caffeine getting
that
pumped
you've
through my veins
ingested
right
into
now.
your body right now.
Oh, it's healthy for you. So you're telling me there's something in a can, I drink it, and I can float around the house for 5 hours?
Yeah, imagine how people felt in like the 1910 to 1930 range when Coca-Cola had actual cocaine in it.
Yeah, but you know what was wild?
What?
Gas station pill era. Remember that?
Oh, one of the scariest things that ever happened to me in my life. I was coming back from Cleveland, and I had been running on like an hour and a half of sleep, and I needed to get home. And so I stopped at a gas station, and this was when Monster first came out, and I grabbed a Monster, and I took 2 of the Stingers and drank a Monster. And then I thought I was dying 40 minutes later.
Well,
it literally felt like my heart was coming outside of my body every time it beat. I stopped and called my wife.
The truth is, you were dying.
Yeah, I stopped and called my wife. I was like, if I don't make it home, I might be having a heart attack. I'm scared. I'm scared right now.
If I don't make it, just give Jason all my cards. But don't let him get them.
This was before I even knew you were a human being. Like, I didn't know who you were. This was 25 years ago.
It really was something. What was the old school pop? Jolt?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit like Robitussin, a little bit like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it was like the non-alcoholic version of
Spark?
Four Loko.
Four Loko.
Yeah. Four Loko was like, if you want to confuse your body completely, drink 3 of these.
Even the United States was like, yeah, we got to outlaw that.
this seems like a real bad idea.
This is too many chemicals for us. No, hand me my all-natural cereal. All right, so this is not about caffeine and food and the USDA. This is about ball cards. That's what we talk about. And we want to talk about that today as well. We got a lot going on. Spring is in the air. Baseball is right around the corner, and I'm excited about that.
Oh,
speaking of baseball,
yeah,
I used to be an avid video gamer, but there's one game a year I always do get, and it's the show.
Yep.
And this year they had like an AI photo you could do.
Yeah.
To get a picture of yourself. But not only that, what I really appreciate most for 2K Labs is they allowed you to build your actual frame.
Oh, yeah.
So I am a 5'8" portly man.
Mine is a 6'4" portly man with 96 speed.
Well,
it's amazing.
Yeah, we all, it's what we pay for, right?
You just see that belly jiggling every time I try to steal a base.
Yeah. But we got to work on the nicknames. You have to pick. So they'll read your name, but if you don't have a common last name, you have to pick a nickname.
Yeah.
So right now my name is Jason Fingers. I was Jason Jumbo.
You should change that.
And I was Jason Tin Can.
That's
But-
better.
Well, how is Tin Can an option? Anyway,
Fingers is not
there's
good.
actually been an Otero in the major leagues. I feel like it's not that big of a deal.
There's been a LeMaster in the major leagues too.
Did you see if they have?
It's not there. I mean, a relation of mine, and he was terrible, but he did have like a 13-year major league career. It was a career.
He can't be terrible for 13 years in the majors.
He's a career 215 hitter. I think his career home run total was like 7.
Let's go. 7 in the bigs. Got paid for 13 years.
Yeah, he did.
That
He played from
deserves
like 74 to 87.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Uncle
what's up.
Johnny.
Old Uncle Johnny. You don't want him on your team in wiffle ball, but boy, does he pick up the bill at Sizzler. Okay, let's jump in. First off, we have product release, a little bit of news to jump into as well. This one is not the most exciting product for me or you. However, I've had pieces in my showcase from this product. So Zenith Football drops today, March 22nd, right?
Correct.
It is considered a lower-end hobby product, right?
Yeah, if you're desperately seeking a product that sits somewhere between Chronicles and Illusions, but that you're going to pay for like Unparalleled used to be, then hey, Zenith is for you.
Although I did sell, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, Zenith 101, that Anthony Munoz. Actually, it was a trade deal, but
Yeah, I don't know. The thing about Zenith is it's not that it's a terrible product, but in the last 2 or 3 years, Panini has been like, let's go way back into the old Pacific football
Yeah.
product line and start remaking some of that stuff. And I don't know how great of an idea that actually is.
yeah, let's give them all parallels they're not asking for.
Right.
So, Zenith Football is out. Pick it up or don't. I would say this is a product where people are going to overpay, and then in a month you might be able to scoop up some really low-numbered stuff because it's not quite back to training camp yet. It's still a newer product, but
I
be on
mean,
the lookout for it.
Zenith is one of those products, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you go to a show and you see a dealer that's kind of a pseudo dealer, but that you can also tell is a DGen, look in their showcase, and if 90% of what in their showcase is like from one product,
They be breaking on that credit card.
Those dudes been breaking like crazy on that cheap shit.
We do have a guy. We do have a guy that.
And then they'll give it away if you get
Yeah.
aggressive with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we do have a guy that pops in at our card shows every now and then, and he gets bought out, and it's always
one
Just
product heavy.
one product. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of card shows, can I give a shout out?
Yeah, go nuts.
We had a passing in the card community.
We did.
We did. So one thing that there's a guy that always popped in over at the card shows, and boy, he could be an interesting character.
Drove me nuts.
Yeah, he had that effect. Didn't get the impression that he had a lot.
Nope.
Never brought money to the show. His clothes were pretty beat up, and he'd pull out some cards that were pretty torn up. But man, he loved looking at cards and asking you about cards every time.
Yep.
Asking about the Bears, asking how this player's doing, how that player's doing. He actually traded with me, and I still have one of the
That Will Clark
cards.
auto?
Yeah, Will
Yeah.
Clark auto. But man, it was kind of a bummer. We heard he had passed, and he really enjoyed the hobby. Just kind of
Yes.
leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, anytime that, and this is not somebody that either one of us was close to, but the one thing about this hobby that I really enjoy is that if you start going to shows, you start becoming active in the collecting community, in your local collecting community, you're gonna start to see the same people all the time. You're gonna start to develop somewhat of a relationship with those people where they recognize you, you recognize them, and there's just something about that in that community that is just really kind of neat. Like you can not see somebody for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they pop in, and you're like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And Jeff was one of those guys, even though he did make me want to pull my hair out of my head. It's always sad when a member of the community passes like that. And I believe it was somewhat unexpected.
Yeah.
Just
That
kind of
sounds
out
like
of
it.
left field. So
Yeah. No one, and I mean no one, could shuffle your prices marked in dollar boxes
Oh
together
my God.
as efficiently as that man.
Oh my God.
So, rest in peace, Jeff. The card show in South Columbus will not be the same without his presence. That is for sure.
Agreed.
It's going to definitely be a little
Agreed.
more quiet and a little bit different.
Yep.
So, let's talk about what everyone is talking about this week. Really interesting story coming out of LA. So, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter is fired and probably pending some criminal charges. That's not been officially announced yet. But there may or may not have been a few $1 million belonging to Ohtani that have disappeared to pay off some gambling debts.
$4.5 million.
That's now how many millions has he earned so far?
Yeah, just about $1 billion.
Yeah. So, did he even feel it? No.
Well, so here's the thing that people don't realize.
That's not the point, but yeah.
Well, no, a lot of things with this story, people are going, oh, Ohtani. I've seen so many posts where people are comparing Ohtani to Pete Rose, and this is obviously this guy was placing these bets for Ohtani, and now he's just taking the fall for him, and blah, 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 blah. A couple things you want to keep in mind here. One, if you are approaching this story through the lens of your life, you're doing it wrong. If you think that Shohei Ohtani has looked at his bank account in the last decade, you're wrong. If you think Shohei Ohtani...
How in the world would you be able to make that kind of a statement with any... What do you
very,
mean?
very... I'm telling you that people with that level of dollars, especially athletes, they have people around them that handle all this stuff. Shohei Ohtani does not pay his own bills. Shohei Ohtani probably doesn't even carry a credit card with him. If he does, it's an Amex Black, and he doesn't pay any attention. He just hands it to somebody, and then somebody pays that bill every month for him. He doesn't speak English. Ohtani does not speak English. So this guy was his interpreter, and they've been friends for 30 years, right? You can send a wire I can send a wire. I can open my phone and go to my online banking, and I can send a wire. And I promise you that this guy, being his interpreter, is also verified with his bank to be able to talk to them when transactions need to happen, because guess who can't? How many people at Wells Fargo you think speak Japanese fluently to talk to Shohei Ohtani to verify things? Not too many, if any. So the point being, this whole idea that this is an obvious thing where this guy was placing bets for Ohtani doesn't make any sense. Talking to people within that industry, talking to people who have ins in that organization, talking to people who have ins with Ohtani's agency. Ohtani is literally a robot, guys. All he does is baseball. That's it. He doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't leave his house. He literally goes and plays baseball, works on baseball, and sleeps. He eats when he needs to. So this quite literally is about as clear of a case of somebody in an inner circle taking advantage of somebody to the tune of lots of money. And this guy might have been willing to take the fall and get fired for Ohtani if Ohtani was betting, because they've been friends for a long time. But you know what this guy probably isn't willing to do? Go to federal prison, which is what's looking like what's going to happen. So I think that the whole idea that Ohtani is betting on baseball and doing all this through this guy is laughable. And the people who say, well, no bookie's going to ever, let somebody run up a $4.5 million bill. Yeah, they will. If you can prove to them that you have the dollars to cover it. And I guarantee you that this guy was like, yeah, I've got access to all of this guy's stuff. He's got billions of dollars. And the flip side of that too, $4.5 million is a huge amount of money to 99.9% of us. Like more money than most of us will make in our lives. To Ohtani, if you have $1,000 in your bank account and $10 disappears, that's about the equivalent of what this is to Ohtani. You wouldn't even notice $10 difference in your bank account. Or if you did, you'd be like, I probably spent $10 somewhere. I didn't. Percentage-wise, it's the same. So we're talking about orders of magnitude here that are so outside the scale of what the average everyday person can conceive of.
Yeah, but here's what's a little bit weird to me about this. Okay. So, yes, I agree with you on the percentages. I would say that all the people around him would say $4.5 million is a lot of money. If there are that many people around him and there are that many people helping him with his finances and this and that, like there had to be some
There
red
was
flags.
There was, and that's what brought this all into the open. Remember, the guy who was doing it was his closest friend and confidant. Like that guy had access to all the stuff.
X factor. But where are like
if one of his financial advisors
was
saw,
it one transaction that flagged him, or was it, hey, we've realized little by little, oh my gosh, this is added up to
what my understanding is that it's little by little, and then there was one large transaction that what it sounds like, and again, this has not
somebody
been verified
came knocking
at all.
is what it sounded
Well,
like.
no, what it sounds like is that the interpreter went to Ohtani and said, hey, I'm in
This
the
is
shit
bad.
here. I need $1 million. And Ohtani was like, you're my best friend. Sure. I got you.
Sure, and you're fired.
Yeah, well, but the firing didn't happen until after that because then all this other stuff started coming out. But again, remember, if he's got Ohtani's financial team, when they call to say, hey, what's going on here, who are they talking to? They're talking to the interpreter.
Yeah.
They're not talking to Ohtani. They're talking to the guy who's doing it. And he's going to say, oh, yeah, Shohei said that's fine. It's supposed to be that way.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like too that the people that fired him
Was the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers fired him for gambling because they have evidence that he was
Yes.
doing sports betting, and they cannot go after stealing yet. Which is like the most MLB thing ever.
Well, it looks
Well,
like the
steal
IRS
$5 million if you want, but if you bet on baseball,
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be some criminal consequences. The feds are getting involved. Ohtani's people are wanting them to pursue theft charges.
well, yeah, and who's collecting $4.5 million? That's a big shark.
Yeah.
Who's collecting that note? So, that's got to be piquing interest for the feds because we're talking about somebody collecting large sums of money.
Yeah, I just know there's so many people out there running their mouths about this stuff that are trying to process it from a standpoint of their lives and how big of a number $4.5 million is in their lives. When you're a billionaire, $4.5 million is nothing. I know that sounds insane, but it's the truth. It's nothing. Like nothing. So keep that in mind when you are jumping to conclusions. And again, we live in unfortunately a world where innocent until proven guilty is no longer reality. You are guilty the moment you are accused, and even if you are proven innocent, you will still be seen as guilty by lots of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a situation where Trevor Bauer's not in the majors right now. Now, don't get me wrong. Trevor Bauer's a piece of shit. But he was pretty exonerated on that situation, and he's not getting signed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk hobby.
Yep, let's talk hobby.
I have an opinion.
About what?
I think this does absolutely nothing to his market.
Ohtani's?
Yeah.
No, it's not. People were trying yesterday really hard.
Do you think do the influencers really believe that they can sway the public enough for a pump and dump of Shohei Ohtani?
Yes.
This is the Jeff Wilson effect.
Yes.
On
Delusion.
everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you're nervous about it, call me because I'm a buyer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
A week before opening day.
Yeah.
After this massive historic contract. Yeah. I mean,
If you're really scared about it, I'll buy everything you got at 60%.
you know what? I got a little Shohei rookie right here. I'm going to mark it up right now.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, but interesting piece. And you know what shocked me out of everything as a Midwesterner?
What's that?
When they were like, yeah, there's no sports book in California. I'm like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I don't think it's legal in California.
But-
Sports betting isn't.
This is the last thing they have to left to legalize.
Yeah. Well, which this is not sports related, but it just goes to show you how powerful special interests are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, yeah, they love taxes over there. You would think it's a no-brainer.
Well, you would think, but I guarantee you,
Powers that be. Now, maybe there's somebody that's really happy collecting $4.5 million from really wealthy people in California on a regular basis.
that's not the special interest. The special interest is Nevada. Lots and lots and lots. California, Nevada, it's a 2.5 hour drive from L.A. to Vegas. I guarantee you that Nevada is putting a lot of money into people's pockets to make sure that sports gambling stays in their hands.
Funny story.
What's that?
Vegas trip years ago. You weren't there, but a lot of people you know were.
Vegas with my friends is a terrible idea.
Anyway, a buddy of ours, Jason Elson,
Yes.
had a friend in L.A. that found out at 5 p.m. that we were in Vegas. He came in like a wrecking ball. He ran hard in the paint.
I bet he did.
We had one hotel room with doubles. Now, listen, three large men in Elson.
I've been on these trips before, just not to Vegas.
He is, and then another person's buddy showed up. So now there's 6 people sleeping in this room. The next morning, probably 4 a.m., somebody just goes walking through, knocking everything in sight over. I mean, ironing boards are falling down. Glasses are falling off the shelf. I look up, and it's our buddy. He's heading into work because he has to be there in 2 hours. I said, you might want to clean that glitter out of your beard. And off he was. But, yeah, it's not that far of a drive. So that makes sense. Let's keep it moving with baseball. Some news has got me a little bit anxious. Matt McClain's got some shoulder stuff going on, and it's starting to look a little more serious.
Yeah.
They're run some tests. They're trying to figure out if he's going to need surgery. I mean, probably within a day or two of this episode releasing, we'll have an answer to that. Obviously, that'd be a real big hit for the Reds.
As a Reds fan, it's extremely concerning.
Of the young talent, when you're talking about consistent numbers and leadership, and honestly, he's a star. McClain's probably the top of the list there. Like, in some ways, for the team as a whole, this is a little bit of a hot take, but he's going to do more all around right now than Ellie does. That could change, but in my perspective for the team, he's a key player. So, what does this do for the market? Well, good news is Gary and I both have spent a little chunk of change on McClain in the last 2 months.
McClains, yeah.
So I picked up one. Actually, I picked up several mid and then an auto. But you have that gold to 50. Is it gold wave to 50?
Yeah, PSA 10.
We'll see what happens. Shoulder is something that could be minimal, could be a lot of the season. Sometimes they just got to clean some stuff out. Sometimes they don't have to do surgery at all, and he could be, at the plate in May or June.
The concern is this: if he's got a torn labrum, he's done for the year. It's that simple. The Reds another one of the Reds' huge prospects, Edwin Arroyo, just had labrum surgery, and he's done for the year.
Well, and then we have Novelli Marte's suspension for PEDs of 80
games.
So this very crowded
infield isn't as crowded anymore.
Votto's like, what the heck?
It does make a path. Well, he was still squeezed out.
Yeah.
It does create a path for a guy like Sal Stewart to maybe not end up getting traded.
Yeah.
But that's, at the end of the day, if McClain just has, like, I had shoulder surgery 2 years ago, and it was just a clean out. I didn't have anything torn in there. I just had some bone spurs that had broken off and were floating around in the shoulder capsule. They had to clean some stuff out. I was down for about 3.5 months, and then I was good to go. Yeah. And that was without doing, like, full-on athletic physical therapy. That's just me. Yeah, that's just me healing. If that's all that it ends up being, then McClain's probably back before the All-Star break. If there's something torn in there, then it's a different story.
But as young as he is,
well, I think he comes back from it, but he may be out for the year.
Well, I'm saying they're going to be a little more on the cautious side with him.
Probably, yeah.
But definitely could impact the market. Hey, I still love McClain, and if he gets cheap, I'm probably buying him.
Oh, 100%. That's what I was just getting ready to say. Like, if he's out for the year and his stuff drops by 50%, I will just start stacking it.
Because he got a little bit expensive. I mean, the numbers he's putting up, merited that, but a little steep on it. Okay. Let's go.
Look at us 25 minutes in already.
Well, we have been rambling a good bit. Let's talk about this controversy with the Wemby 101 that got a PSA 10 that was horribly off-centered, that we found out there was a shout-out to Kurt's Cards, and now everyone is in an uproar over whether or not a card that has been treated with a foreign substance is an altered card, and how that should affect grading. So before we get clear down that road, let's back it up for anybody that did not hear. one of the biggest cards of the year, the Wemby 101 Black, was pulled. It was pulled overseas, right? Pulled in China?
No, that was the first off the line one.
First off the
This
line.
one, nobody even knew it had been pulled until it got
that's
graded.
Correct. That's correct. It was graded. It grades a 10. Was it the person that pulled it, or the shop that pulled it, or the owner that gave the shout out?
I'm not sure who it was that gave the
Either
shout
the
out.
person that ripped the pack personally or the shop that opened it in a break. I can't remember. It
wasn't in a break. It was just a random
okay.
collector that bought a box
Yep.
at this shop. Yeah.
On a video, they shout out Kurt's Card Care.
From PSA's offices.
Yes, that it was a 10. Now, why at PSA's office? Any historic card like that, it's great for their marketing. It's a very valuable card. It's not uncommon for somebody to go to the PSA office, personally deliver that.
I don't want that card coming through the mail.
Yeah, especially if
it's a 7-figure card.
Yeah. With that value, they want it there. So for anybody that is saying, well, that seems a little off, that's actually pretty normal, okay? If it's a card that big. PSA wants you there. They want photos of you pulling the card because they want everyone to think PSA with the biggest card of the year, right?
Yep.
No brainer. He shouts out Kurt's Card Care. So Kurt's Card Care, I think, has launched mostly. It's pretty well established now, but just launched out of socials of this guy that was showing how to clean up cards. So maybe it was
not trimming anything.
Yeah, no, don't. You're getting a little biased now.
Okay,
we're doing the objective part, and then you can give your opinion on it. Anything from like cleaning a surface to you have a corner that's a little soft, but it can be not sharpened with, like filed down, but it can kind of be pressed back to where it needs to be. Surface issues, especially, so much so that he has his own Kurt's Card Care. It's been called a lot of things lately, but just this product that you can put on it that cleans up, especially like chrome cards. You've been able to see a lot of fingerprints out, smudges, defects. It kind of is like a nice little turtle wax that cleans it up. So now we have this issue. PSA gave it a 10. In my opinion, it's nowhere close to within the 60-40 window, which means it's off-centered, which, that gets debated quite a bit. But if you see a picture of this card, it's very obvious that it's not perfectly centered. Yep. Secondly, now in the office of PSA, the owner of the card is thanking a company that gave a foreign substance designed to clean up the card. Now, there's a lot of different ways Kurt's Card Care takes care of cards, and honestly, this is the best thing that's ever happened in his business in his entire life. You imagine everyone's talking about it now because it's like, oh yeah, that sucks. They shouldn't do that. How much does it cost to get that stuff? But so now we have him acknowledging that he's done something to the card before submitting it. PSA then makes a statement that they're going to monitor to see if anyone has used a product like that. And in the future, we will not be accepting those cards. What's really interesting to me,
LOL.
What's really interesting to me is nothing is stopping them from saying, we need that card back. We messed up.
They never will.
And guess what? That 1 of 1 as a raw. Is it really that much different?
No, it's a 1 of 1. There's a lot of theory on that. Like grading a 1 of 1 is kind of silly. The only thing you're really doing with it is authenticating it. And that's what I would do if I had a 1 of 1, especially if it wasn't perfect. I would just get it authenticated and in an encapsulation.
Yep. It probably doesn't, especially in an auction, it's not going to impact the pricing. There's not much of a difference between an 8 and a 10 in that situation.
There's no difference between an 8 and a 10.
So
you can't get another one.
There's no reason they couldn't say, hey, here's what we're willing to do. Why don't you give that back? We have to take the 10 off because you've acknowledged that you've used this product. We are still willing to reslab this as authentic.
Never happening.
If you wanted to savor whatever's left of your integrity.
What is that?
Why are you commenting on every... This is not a roast. But if you wanted to, establish that you actually mean what you're saying about this, that's what you do. So this has opened a whole can of worms. If you've not listened, a couple episodes ago or a couple seasons ago, Gary and I had like a little bit of a debate about trimming cards, altering cards, what one person thinks is okay and the other person thinks is kind of what's the word I'm looking for, is a stain on the hobby or viewed as something that we shouldn't do. So the conversation here today is really about where is the line on preparing a card for grading and how do we establish what officially altering a card is. If you've been in an accident and your car needs a little TLC, look no further than Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body. Safe and reliable collision repairs are their business.
They are a local, family-run, and veteran-owned business serving the Newark, Zanesville, and surrounding areas. And guess what? They work with all insurance providers to make your experience hassle-free. Plus, make sure to ask about their special discounts for U.S. military veterans.
Visit them today at autobodyofnewark.com and autobodyofzanesville.com to get your repair started.
Their iCar Gold Class team of skilled collision repair technicians will make your vehicle just like new again. So, I think the answer is pretty straightforward. You shouldn't be cutting pieces off of a card. You shouldn't be adding things permanently to a card. Other than that, and I talked about this because I talked about this in a TikTok video. If you guys aren't following us on TikTok, jump on that if you use TikTok, because
while there's still time,
we're pretty constantly putting out content there and reacting to things in the hobby in real time. So in any event, this whole I don't understand why the onus for this isn't being put onto manufacturers and not onto us as collectors. If I spend $1,000 for a box of cards and the best card that comes out of it has 3 fingerprints and a print line on it, you're telling me that in order to be ethical, I can't wipe off the fingerprints and I can't wipe off the print line? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm not cutting a piece off of the card. I'm not anything like that. If I go buy a new car and I get home and there is a light surface scratch on it, are you telling me before I sell that car, I can't get a buffer out and buff out the surface scratch? Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Now, I totally understand the argument about trimming, because now you are artificially removing bad parts of a card to try to make it appear better than it otherwise would have. But we're not removing anything here other than things that shouldn't have been on the card coming from the factory anyway. I should not open a pack and have a massive thumbprint in the middle of a card. That shouldn't happen. It does on a regular basis. So if I spray a little bit of Windex basically on that card and then use a microfiber and wipe it off, is that wrong? I mean, by the same logic, if there's a little bit of dust on a card, I guess I'm not allowed to blow that off either. Like, it's the dumbest argument I've ever heard.
Yeah, so here's where my counter would be on this. And I'm not entirely sure where I am on the surface stuff with it, but let's just roll with me being a little bit more of a purist. And by that, I mean, I don't want people messing with their cards to submit it from grading, okay? What we're talking about is one of the key subcategories for grading, surface, in this particular instance,
Yep.
right? So if let's use your analogy of buying a classic car. So we're talking about a collectible, right?
Yep.
And I no longer have original paint. Is that altering it? Yes, but we're not talking about painting the card, right? If it has a large scuff and I do touch-up, could that affect me winning the trophy at the car show versus the other? Yeah, it could. Do they notice it? I don't know. What we're talking about, the point of grading, especially with ultramodern, we're not talking about a card that's been in a box for 50 years. We are talking about the condition of the card as open and sent, right? I open this card, I send it in, what grade does it get? I think it is just as egregious that they gave this a 10 on centering or a 9.5 or better, which is not, as it is that we can now add products in to basically fill out the pile. Now, where's the line? This is really the question we have for this, because I have submitted cards that I've wiped down with a microfiber cloth, but I haven't ever put a product on it. When you watch some of the Kurt's Card Care videos, you'll see everything from, hey, this corner's a little soft. You may press it together with your fingers, or he has basically tweezers that are padded or whatever, right? Just to see, is this smashed or did it just kind of separate a little bit before I send it in? But he also has videos where you have 48 leaf baseball soaking in a saucer full of liquid.
Yep.
To
Remove
get colors,
stains.
to remove stains from
Yeah.
it.
I have no issue with that at all.
Well, we know how you feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no issue at all.
So the question is, should that have an impact on grading? If it shouldn't, then why do you why do you care at all what PSA is saying or doing about it?
Because I hate reactionary statements and reactionary policies that can't possibly be enforced just to placate a loud minority of people. It
So if they would've
annoys
said-
the shit out of me.
So if they would have said, we don't care, you're cool.
Yeah,
I don't.
they
know if I
don't
believe-
care.
But
They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. So they would have been telling the truth. They literally cannot detect it. There's not a method by which they can detect whether or not I have sprayed Windex on a card and
hold
wiped
on.
it down.
So if they could, let's run the scenario. If they had a lens or a light, so let's say hey, we didn't realize this, but if we put a black light, we can tell if it's been hit with this wax.
Yep.
Okay? So if they can, would you give and they said, hey, we have 2 cards that appear as a 10. However, when we held the black light over it, we saw that this card was treated with a product. So now we know that card is not the condition of the card as it was opened.
Yep.
You see no difference between those 2 cards.
I personally do not. However, to the point you're making, if that was the case, and if PSA would consistently apply whatever that policy is, I would live with it. I wouldn't necessarily like it, but I would live with it.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that PSA can't even be consistent with their existing grading standards. Not even remotely close. They are spending less than 1 minute per card they grade. Do you think there is a world that exists where they can blacklight every card if that's the case? It's not.
Now,
They're making statements to placate loudmouths.
the thoughts and views on how much time they have per card are
math. They're math.
no.
Yes.
You.
They are math. There is a finite number of seconds in a day.
Yep.
And they're grading 1.1 million cards a month with 1,800 graders. The math is the math.
And how many hours a day are you setting in for that?
24.
Okay. Let's do
That's
the math
assuming
right now.
24 hours a day.
Okay, hold on. Let's do the math.
So
on that.
24 times 30 times 60. So do that math. 24 times 30. That's hours in a month. Now times 60. That's 43,200. Okay, so that's how many.
Hours.
That's minutes in a month.
Okay.
That's minutes in a month. Now,
Hold on.
divide-
That's not correct.
Yes, it is.
24.
24 times 30 is the number of hours,
Okay.
and then times 60
Okay.
is the number.
I went to Bible college. Everybody,
Yep.
give me breaks.
So that gives us a total of how many minutes
24
per month?
times 30.
Yep.
Times 60.
That's
Equals
43,200 minutes per month, right?
Mhm.
Now, remember that number, 43,200.
How many employees?
Hold on. We'll backtrack and see how many employees are
Okay.
needed. 43,200, right? So clear that out. Remember 43,200. I will. Now, 1.1 million, which is how many cards they're grading a month, divided by 43,200. What's the number?
25.
Yeah. So you're talking about a scenario where you can't get from point A to point B.
What's the 25?
The 25?
Is minutes per card?
No. That's not minutes per card.
What is it?
That's number of employees per day,
Okay.
right? So they've got 1,800 employees, graders across 2 locations.
Mhm.
That's the numbers that I've been told by people inside PSA.
Okay.
Okay? So the math is pretty clear.
I'm stupid, so walk me from the 25 to that.
Hold on. We'll run the numbers one more time. We've done this on this podcast before.
I know. I like to disagree with you about this. It gets you fired up.
1,800 graders, okay? Assuming an 8-hour shift, right? So 3 shifts of 8 hours, so 24 hours a day. And they're not running 24 hours a day. But let's assume that they are. We've got 1,800 graders. So you've got 1.1 million cards divided by 1,800 graders. That's 611 cards per month per grader, right? Now, assuming 8-hour shifts divided by 8, that's 76 cards in an 8-hour shift. Now, their statement is that 3 graders touch each card in the process.
Okay.
So divide that by 3. There's your 25, right? There's where your 25 comes in.
What is the 25?
The 25 is the number of cards per day that can be graded by the graders.
But they
by
have
each
8 hours.
grader. Yes, in 8 hours.
That's
including encapsulation and including shipping.
That seems like more than a minute to me.
Not when you figure in that encapsulation takes 25 seconds per card.
Okay.
The point being,
they're not sitting there for an hour with your card.
Correct. The point being, they cannot possibly do what they're saying they're doing. One, you can't detect that with a black light. Like, you just can't. It's not real life. So them making this statement is asinine. They are literally just trying to placate loudmouths. That's all they're doing. I would go out on a limb and say that 75 to 80% of people in this hobby don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't want you trimming a card. And I agree, you should not be trimming cards and trying to sell them. Now, if you have a card that is yours, that you're just going to display in your house forever, you just want it to look good, get your scissors out. Go nuts. I don't care.
Right.
Don't try to sell it.
And don't use kid scissors.
Right. Use good stuff. Call the guy that used to play for the Titans. What was that guy's name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, call that guy. he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But the point being that it's just a silly statement for PSA to make. They're just saying it as a PR placation move. They're never going to be able to tell. They can barely tell whether a card's been trimmed. They get so many trim cards through there that they can barely tell whether a card's been trimmed. And if it's an ultra-modern, lower-end card, they're not paying any attention at all.
Yeah.
Flying it to the next guy.
So the math I just did the math in my head. So we're talking generously, no lunch breaks.
Yeah.
2 minutes and 5 seconds per card, including encapsulation.
And packaging back to ship.
And passing it around.
Yes.
Yeah. That is not a lot of time.
No. That's my point.
Okay.
You got me fired up there.
I know. I know. I think I don't think anything will change with grading companies around this. I wonder what kind of impact it will have if we'll see more and more of this, because products are going to keep coming out that do better things for cards. But I also thought about this watching that video. It takes some cojones to drop a vintage card with a lot of money in any kind of bowl of sauce.
Only if you don't know what you're doing. Like what he does there is
trust.
something
I don't care. Let's say I knew it would work. I would also still be like,
that process is actually something that's been done for years. You can do it with warm water. You don't even have to have Kurt's juice. Like you can. That sounded terrible.
I've heard worse things.
You don't even have to have that. You can just soak. If you've got say you've got a card from the 80s that has a gum stain on the back of it, you can literally just put that into a shallow pan of warm water for about 3 or 4 hours, bring it out, sit it between 2 pieces of thick paper towel, fold it over paper towel, put a wood block on top of it, and let it dry for a day. And when you come back, you'll be able to just gently rub that gum stain off the back of the card and get 90% of it off.
Yeah. What's a card got to be worth for you to do that kind of trouble? Go through that kind of trouble if it's not for personal collection.
I mean, for me, I don't think that exists because I'm too lazy to mess with any of that stuff. I don't own any Kurt's Card Care products. I know plenty of people who do, though, and I don't care. Like, I don't care.
do have a Ichiro rookie that has been treated with Kurt's Card Care.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever their version, what was that, special edition? Or it was like their Tiffany, but not Tiffany.
Yeah.
Was it called special edition? Something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's the Ichiro rookie. The surface had some stuff in it, and it cleaned it right up. It's in my personal collection. I'm not reselling it at any point. But, man, it really has become a polarizing conversation.
I don't think it's as polarizing as you think it is. I think that there is a loud minority of people who are making a big deal about it, and most people don't care.
I disagree.
Okay.
Maybe I'm the loud minority.
Maybe.
All right, this has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
Bye now.
Peace.